Alrighty, folks, we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone. Howdy.
Good morning. Good evening. Hello.
All right.
Good night.
Yeah.
Howdy.
So
we're here.
Yes, indeed, we are. So, yeah. Bit of a session last time, wasn't it?
It's been sitting with me all week.
Uh-huh.
Like I've been getting into inner monologues of anger.
I was just gonna say it's funny. I hadn't expected that. Last week went places that were just like Albuquerque, left turn, followed by several more. What?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so
all Spider's fault.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So I think what we'll do is we'll I forgot to turn that off, so I'm not. Just one sec. I need to disable something on my side so there isn't an arrow stuck in poor Jamie's eye the whole session. There we go. And that. Now I can move this mouse pointer down out of the way. There we are. Oops. What did it do? There we are. Okay. No mouse pointer in Jamie's face. Excellent. So that's taken care of. Good morning. Hello. So let's do the hellos and intros. We'll do the out of characters, and then we'll do the in character, and then we'll talk about the last session, and then we'll fast forward to breakfast of this session, because I think that's an excellent time to resume. So Jamie, tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm Jamie Collett. I'm a voice actor. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto, here on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and on my website, jamie-collett.com.
Very good. Chantal.
Howdy doody. I am Chantal B. You can find me at Chantal B on Twitter. You can find me at wordswithcolor.com, where I do a lot of writing of things and get really angry with certain characters. But most of the time I'm here, all through the week, really.
All right. And, I don't know, Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam, and I have a better internet connection today, despite having done nothing.
Because why not?
So I think the area's getting the upgrade that Australia's getting, and they just mucked with the line on that day, because they couldn't work out anything else that it might have been.
Gotcha.
But I'm keen for the session.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And Drew.
Hi, I'm Drew. I just realized that I am a voice actor as well as a physical actor. We don't normally use physical actor to describe actor, but voice actor seems to be a specialization. I also write. I have a little teeny tiny blog that I've been writing some stuff called Tales from the Tavern at wordpress.com. There we go. Got it right. Clearly I know my own website. And what else? This week I've worked 72 hours.
Extra crispy Drew. Got it.
Yeah.
And I'm Michel Vaiaco. I'm the storyteller and GM. You can catch up with me on Twitter. Twitter handles, by the way, I'm sure you've noticed by now, are beside everybody's pictures. So that's an easy way to catch up with any of the cast. You can also catch up with me at 902PE Gaming here on Sunday mornings, where I talk about, well, being a GM. So yeah. So let's do the in-character recap of last session, because I'm sure the points of view will be fascinating. I think we'll start with the I think we'll start with Spider as the person who is undoubtedly voted to have had the greatest impact in a single game session. There isn't an Oscar for that, but there's definitely a Spider for that. So, Spider, what do you recall of the last session? Not much, eh?
Last time we went for a meeting with Equidian.
Yep.
And he told us that he had a job for us, that we would need to steal an urn from someone named Amandi. And the squad weren't entirely sure whether they wanted to get involved in a life of questionable adventure. But I've already started making friends in the city. And then, yeah, I think I ended up back at the inn and I had a nap while these guys did something.
Fair enough. Yep, makes sense. Lucas, I think probably is an excellent point of view to discuss about the events of last session. So
Yeah, I'll fill in some gaps, shall I?
You feel there's some narrative missing, do you? So what does Lucas recall of this of the events of the last session?
Well, I recall the meeting with Aquidian and the engagement with the heist that he wants us to undertake. But then we went on further, and we went to a championship tournament. So good. Haven't seen one of them in a long time. And in, I don't know what Jasper drank while toasting to Aquidian's suggestion that we do a heist, but Jasper sent us on a nice little fight. Well, sent me into a nice little fight, and made a right cock up of the whole thing.
Oh dear.
Yes. Yeah, so that was great. It was wonderful while the fun lasted, and then Jasper decided that he would, insult an entire class of people by standing up and declaring that yes, he did declare that my opponent was a bastard because he used a bastard sword, not knowing in actual fact that he was a bastard. So that went down like a lead bubble.
Technically.
And then I told him off, and he had no idea what he had done. Clearly, he has no idea that he made a fool out of me, and so that's nice to know that my brother cares that much about me. Can I stop? Is that okay?
Yes, you can stop right there. Chevalier, your thoughts?
I'm just imagining like a sort of Big Brother style like interview room, and Lucas is just there. It's like, I'm done. We're just okay.
It's like Big Brother. We're in the diary room.
Diary room. That's what it was.
Yes. Oddly enough, that's actually part of the idea why I do these opening bits. Is it's literally that moment where none of the other characters quote can hear what's going on. I mean, no, we do a little bit of crosstalk and a little bit of snickering and stuff like that, but it is really intended to be that sort of, the diary room. I'm not one for television much, but I think it's a very good way of explaining mentally what it is I'm going for with these character recaps. So yeah.
We need to find some images to put behind us when we're in the diary room.
Big chair or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and find some stock images that we can pop behind.
Well, actually, send them to me, because then what I can do is set up a button that puts everyone into the diary rooms, and it replaces the backgrounds behind you just for that moment. Yeah,
I like it.
Great.
So last night we met with Aquidian, who was interested in our services, though I am not yet convinced that his offer is of any interest or use for us. Perhaps if we learn more about him and the target, that might change, but currently I am not convinced we need to have anything to do with him. Though he did seem to be being not honest, but not deceptive, not lying, at least. I suggested that we find somewhere the others could eat so that we might discuss this offer, and we stumbled across a tournament which excited Mr. Edgewater to no end. it was interesting. I enjoy the atmosphere of those events, people enjoying themselves. It's nice. And then Mr. Kilcare, seemingly blind drunk on a single glass of a mysterious alcohol, decided to enter Mr. Edgewater into the melee under his full name and rank, and then announce it to the crowd. Now, this was bad, but it was then exacerbated by Mr. Mr. Edgewater's actions. Mr. Edgewater decided that he would dedicate his fight to one of the most popular jousters at the tournament, summoning them to the fight, bringing along their entire entourage, their entire fan base. And while it was clear Mr. Edgewater was upset at Mr. Kilcare's heckling, Mr. Edgewater has no one else but himself to blame for his own behavior. Both of the brothers are to blame for what has happened last night.
All right.
I seem to have misjudged them. That was my mistake.
All right. Alexandre, what's Alexandre's hot take on all of this?
I have one job. And I don't think they have any job.
Oof.
And if they mess up my job with their job, I will kill them.
Oof.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy that they decided to flaunt us in the city, given how concerned I was about my own behavior. I'm not happy that Spider seems to get drunk on one drink. Why drink at all? I'm also not happy that it seems La Chanson may have strangled Spider, which is, he doesn't remember. So, okay, but not okay, really. So, to sum up everything, I'm not happy.
Okay. Bit of a disaster, you say?
Just a bit.
Just a bit. All right. So the scene will open up at the pub. First thing, or well, not the pub, the inn you are staying at, which is Places of
The Blue Skies Inn.
Yes, exactly.
I would potentially like to try and knock on the brother's door before like Alexandre would be waking up.
Mm-hmm. All right, sure thing. So I'm quite content to say that there's going to be, sunrises at 6 o'clock in the morning or thereabouts. Yes, between 6 and 7 because it's springtime and the flood waters are high and the city is bustling and thud thud thud. So I'm suspecting that to both Lucas and Spider, the sound that occurs at their door at about that time in the morning, sounds rather much like a battering ram, but I'll leave it to you two. So, who are you waking up first, Chevalier?
I mean, am I able to just
I'm
walk
going to
in,
say,
or
by definition of the fact.
No, I definitely barred the door.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I would say that based on the idea that you don't sleep, you can just arbitrarily, literally be there the moment the sun peaks over the horizon.
like
So-
I can get there whenever time I want. I'm just sort of like, I don't think I can just open the door.
No.
'Cause I
Yeah,
should
no,
go.
I would definitely have barred the door somehow.
They're in the same room.
But I'm on the floor close to the door, so it would be me that answers it probably.
Well, I was just going to say, and the other thing too is, I mean, Spider is highly motivated entirely on the basis of the fact he knows there's not one but two major thieves guilds in this town.
And you know, that assassin group that we kind of
Yeah, I like
Lamplighters,
fact
the
that we-
lamplighters and the what's
the
what?
docks, the dockers.
Docks. Okay.
Dock workers.
can assume there's a silver hand contact here somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid them. I'm not like entirely suicidal.
No, he's telling everyone our names. It's fine.
Hey, let's be clear. I told a lot of people Lucas's name.
So you're
The
homicide.
least recognizable of the four of us.
Yeah.
Fine. It's fine. You were in disguise.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'd be woken up by a knock, definitely. But
yeah, and I think like the first thing you see is me loading my crossbow, pointing it at the door.
Yeah. Who the hell's knocking at
yeah,
this time? Yeah.
my hand is definitely on my sword.
Okay.
My head hurts. My throat hurts. You get it?
You're closer.
Mr. Kilcare,
You're wearing armor.
Water,
Oh, it's just a tin can. All right.
if you are awake.
Yeah, I'll pull the door open. I'm not pointing the crossbow at you when I hear your voice. Pretty unmistakable.
Sort of duck in and get into the room. I was wondering if we might have a word.
Yeah,
Now put clothes on first.
I don't care.
I do.
Then do it.
Okay. I'm going to put my clothes on in front of Chevalier.
Do you need me to put clothes on?
Do you wear clothes?
If it serves a purpose.
Interesting.
How are you
Jamie, we
feeling?
can't hear you.
He was
How
wearing
are you
that
feeling
coat
this morning,
yesterday.
Mr. Kilcare?
My throat's really sore. Not like inside sore though.
Interesting. Has your memory returned?
Memory.
Here, let me help. I'm going to slap you across the back of your head.
I just like leap on you and start brother wrestling with you, but I mean like I ain't got nothing. This is where my Might Zero score comes into play.
I think like it's interesting because I let you we're
Yeah.
gonna wrestle, but I'm not happy. Like it's very clear that I intended to slap you for a
Yeah,
reason.
no, I know. Yeah, I like try to wrestle you and end up pinned or whatever.
I was just gonna say,
Oh, fuck, my head hurts.
You don't remember a thing.
I presume we went drinking.
We did not. No.
No, we didn't.
I did, clearly.
I don't know if I would call that going drinking.
Maybe going drink.
Shit.
You had a drink after we met with Equidian.
I remember that. It smelled funny.
apparently, by the way it appeared, some kind of tradition once a discussion was complete.
Yeah, that's why I took it. I don't drink much normally.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Let me walk you through the night's events. You took that drink. Alexandre did as well.
Oh shit.
Lucas
you're
did
right.
not. Neither did I.
Well, yeah, I guess that much.
We decided we might find some place to get food and discuss this potential opportunity that had been given to us. We came across a tournament being held at the governor's mansion. Ringing any bells yet?
The TV version of the show, just like flashes, Memento style. A tournament.
Mr. Edgewater was particularly keen to attend, and I will admit, at first, it was quite enjoyable. The energy of the crowd, the excitement of the match, all the smells. It was enjoyable.
I look at Lucas and I say, please tell me that you let me put a disguise on you.
Oh,
Spider.
you are going to love this next part. You decided that it would be a very good idea to enter Mr. Edgewater into the melee. You decided that the best alias to use would be his full actual name and rank, and that you would be his announcer and announce to all who would listen that Engwer Lucas Edgewater was about to join the fight.
Oh,
He was
right.
summoned.
Well, I mean, it was just the melee, though. Everyone would have been watching the joust.
Well, then that brings me to my concern with Mr. Edgewater, who not only decided to accept the summons, but when asked who he was fighting for, he decided the best person to select would be one of the most popular jousters at the event, who, when hearing that he had been selected, was so intrigued that he brought his entire entourage and his entire fan base.
In my defense, can I just say,
No, you may not.
well, I'm
We'll
going
be
to
quiet
anyway.
until we are
In my
done.
defense, he was the perfect person to have as my inspiration.
In what way?
He's inspirational. He's an incredible fighter. He's sure to win.
So after announcing to everyone there who he was, and then Mr. Edgewater ensuring that everyone would know and remember the outsider who had summoned the champion, you decided during the fight that you might try and help. Now, Mr. Edgewater handled the first opponent fine, with ease. It was a good fight, memorable, which is exactly the problem. But then, thinking, well, what's a bit more damage? Mr. Edgewater decided to keep fighting. And the next fighter was a bit more of a challenge. So you, Mr. Kilcare, decided you would be most helpful and heckle this person. And completely by accident, you managed to hit right upon quite a sore spot for this individual. He set his friends to deal with you. You might need to thank Alexandre for stopping them beating you senseless.
Yeah.
After the fight, this champion chastised Mr. Edgewater because, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but that kind of behavior is not very well received at this kind of event.
No, but yeah, not by
And then
stuffy
Mr.
folks.
Edgewater did not respond appropriately to this heckle. Something I am surprised you did not realize you were supposed to do. So, what we have is that you have decided, for absolutely no benefit to the group, to increase the amount of people who know that we're here, even though you, of all of us, know that we are being hunted by people who want us hurt, captured, or possibly even dead. You decided to tell everyone, and you, Mr. Edgewater, decided there was absolutely nothing you could do to prevent this, and instead to double down to make it worse. So I hope you both had a very fun night last night. But I want you to know that I was beginning to think of both of you as people I might be able to trust, people I might consider friends. So I would like to thank both of you for correcting me on my mistake. I leave.
We are in so much crap.
We are. And I think... Jasper. Everything that happened last night, I think, is an indicator of something far bigger. Chevalier is right. But also hasn't got a single fun bone in his body. So, yes, we had a blast. Yes, you had a blast. But... Talk to me. Yeah? When you don't think you need to. Even then. Because what you did last night has me more worried about you than angry.
There are codes among people like me. People. I just wanted to impress you. And I knew that Inquidian would respect someone who accepted his generosity.
Why do you want to impress me?
Well, something about little brothers.
Jasper.
That meeting was my world. And it's the first time we've been in it since we left the capital. I know how to control those situations. But I made a mistake, and I'm sorry. I can make it right.
Impress me. I already am impressed by you. I couldn't be more proud of you if I tried.
I'm a two-bit thief who had their entire gang dismantled around them, Lucas. I don't know why you'd bother.
Do you think I care about that? Jasper, I care that you're here with me on this journey, wherever the fuck we're going.
Yeah. Following in Dada's footsteps, eh?
Talk to me. Yeah. Instead of whatever you drank, whatever you did, there's... I'm here. And don't worry about Chevalier. I'm sure somewhere in there, that giant, massive metal, there is a heart.
Well, I know how we can make it up to them. Or how I can, anyway. We're going to need a place to hide now, Lucas. A real place to hide, not plain sight. We might be ahead of that wanted message, but it won't be by much.
Well, I suppose we can always try and get out of here as fast as possible.
If only we knew someone in the city with tendrils of power who perhaps wanted a favor.
Okay, my brain doesn't work as fast as yours.
Enquidian, Lucas. He can hide us. Or whoever he works for. One of those very impressive girls, my guess.
Well, we've got 13 days until the boat leaves. So, unless we find some other way to get out.
It's a long way by foot.
I'm not very good at swimming in armor either. How good are you at listening to what's going on in the city?
I've already started.
The moment
met
you
some
hear
people
anything-
yesterday.
Well, the moment you hear anything about people trying to find us,
I'll get on it.
you hungry?
Yeah, but I might need like soup or something. My throat is killing me.
I think it's an
I
excellent
didn't.
place to actually seek
Yeah.
over to
I agree.
transition. My throat is killing me, and the next thing you see is Alexandre. So, Alexandre, the sun is up, streaming through the windows of your room. Now what?
Alexandre didn't actually sleep very well.
Okay,
So
and why is that?
oh, life currently, just all of those things.
All of that awkward life.
Just everything is just a little bit difficult. So I suspect that Chevalier leaving would have woken her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But she wouldn't have got up. She'd have just been up. So she's just been up for a while. And she's been spending time sort of just playing with music. Playing, like, she sort of carries around some sheet music, so she's just been reading it, making some magic happen, looking at it and exploring that.
Okay. After a while, I suspect Chevalier will be coming back in, yes? Or once he's done chewing out the Edgewater and Kilcare, is he going to be heading downstairs, or is he going to be going back to the room with Alexandria?
I think he'd go downstairs for a bit. Like, he wouldn't just go from that. Like, he wanted to sort of decompress a little bit.
Okay.
Like, he's not just gonna go from take what the energy from the brothers' room back into Alexandria's room. So
Fair enough. Okay.
I just literally imagined Chevalier going out into an alley and literally letting off steam. So that's what happened in my head just then.
Fair enough. So
he has that a section of wall, crushes it, and walks back in.
didn't need that there anyway.
Checks if it's a retain. Yeah, is it load bearing? No, good. No, he just sort of paces a little bit in the downstairs area, and then sort of
I mean, the common room
heads back up.
I was just gonna say, so because of the nature of an adventurer bar, basically the sun coming up is sort of the shift change for, if you will, for the people staying here. There's just as many people coming back as there are people leaving. And so you're going to be down in the holding up a hunk of wall in the common room area. Because of course, with the way most P&B houses work, is the difference between literally it's they pull the tables aside and they pull out beds or hammocks or whatever, or in some cases, this place is actually pretty affluent. They actually have a separate, they've got a drinking room, as it were, a mead hall, if you will, and then the common room for sleeping is actually separate. But Chevalier's seen it done both ways, so you're probably out in the food and drink area, but sort of the door. It's all been a revolving door going into the common sleeping room there for the past 20 minutes or so. Alexandria eventually, I think, is probably going to get hungry and want to go downstairs.
Eventually, before she leaves the room, she'll just kind of look at her hands and be like, "I don't like hurting people. No more hurting people, please." And then she'll go downstairs.
Okay. So there's going to be a few minutes of Chevalier. The mix of people coming in and out of this place is absolutely colorful. That's not going to change. And as I say, it's the sort of mental comparison that Chevalier is going to have is, of course, he's spent 50 years hanging out with the Donahue family at this point. And
plus his time with the Anvil Heart Company, so and so it's almost unimaginable that wouldn't have spent a few nights in the woods on hunts and things like that as part of Sinru society, because of course just you're the family protector. A bunch of people are going to be hanging out with crossbows in the forest. It's probably a good thing for you to be along. It's because we're all friends here, right?
So the comparison which is going to cross Chevalier's head at some point in time is it's that bizarre sensation of the shift change of predators and prey that happens with dusk and dawn. There's certain groups of creatures creatures waking up, other sets of creatures trying to find a place to bed down and avoid the results of their last outing, etc. And that's just sort of going to be the mental comparison, is this motley crew of individuals going by, like I say, either coming in looking worse the wear for the evening, or just getting out, getting breakfast, and then immediately heading out into the street. So Alexandria will come down after a few minutes, and then Lucas and Spider will come down. So are you all sitting together for breakfast? Or is it going to be two separate tables?
I probably, if I was able to, would have found a table that accommodated everyone.
Okay. The great thing about being Chevalier is that when you sit at a table for four, no one asks for the other chairs. So
handy.
So yeah, as with most P&B houses, it's essentially, they're all essentially run as bed and breakfasts, if you will. So there's a substantial loaf of bread with 2 or 3 different flavors of butter. There's a few blocks of cheese, a pile of fruits and fruits and roots, and that sort of noshes. And if you want anything more complicated than that, then you can order separately. But there's a decent starter breakfast for most purposes, a heap of protein and carbs. Yeah. So what's the atmosphere at the table, do you think? Festival?
No.
Oh, definitely. No, it's not.
No.
Well, I imagine
Not at all.
Have the brothers even joined you guys yet?
Well, that's what
I'm not sure.
Eventually they'd come down.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
So.
Because as soon as I sit down, I would say, Alexandre, it has been brought to my attention that I owe you all an apology, and I am sorry. I don't handle drink well. I normally don't handle it at all, but I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
Fast heal?
You clipped completely there, Chantal. I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear.
No. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, I think.
It sounded like you just came off of mute mid-sentence.
Ah, right. I would like to cast heal on Spider's neck.
Sure.
I don't think it was a mechanical injury, so
Exactly.
I don't think it does anything, but
I was just going to say, no, it's purely a roleplay gesture. There is going to be some warm summer music drift through the air, and that vaguely constricted, partially crushed larynx feeling you've had seems to go away.
I think Spider starts to cry. Not like heavy weeping, but just like...
Okay, I think you need some food, Jasper.
Yeah. Breakfast, that sounds...
You want eggs, bacon?
Oh, yeah.
Keep in mind, there's literally a treasure of food already sitting on the table. You've all got a there's a there's a pitcher there's a pitcher of chilled fruit juices. Like I said, there's a mucking huge loaf of bread that came out of the bakery this morning. There's 3 different types of butters. There's a pile of fruits. For lack of a better way of putting it, cheap and filling there's already a platter of cheap and filling on the table. Things like meats and eggs are relatively more expensive. Those you've got to pay for. But there's a heap of food on the table that comes with the price of the room. That's what I was trying to explain.
Right. So, yeah. So I think he says, this will do. I mean, unless we got eggs, wouldn't be bad for the.
I'll go get you something.
My head kind of feels better. And I just look at Alexandria and say, "That's the song."
Are you muted again, Chantel?
No.
Okay. So, you're gating really heavily. I saw your lips
Right.
move, I saw you nod, and didn't hear a word you said.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be aware of that. So Drew will stroll over the counter. There's of course 2 or 3 staff on right now. It's busy. The place is relatively buzzy, if you will. It's going to take a few moments for someone to pop over, ask what it is you want. You know, handful of silver coins, and they'll bring a platter of 3 meats and eggs over to the table right shortly.
It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. That's kinds of... I don't think you remember, but last night you did a lot.
Yeah. Chevalier explained.
He's been informed.
It was not... I was not in control of my faculties, as they say.
I don't know why the 2 of you are traveling. But I have something I need to do. And I can't risk that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Look, if you want to part ways with us, then I guess that's your call. But we are headed the same direction, and if you still want to get on that boat, we're gonna need a better place to lay low than this. And as my brother has insisted, and I think in the right, I think it's better if I share my plans rather than go about them privately. Mr. Inquidian and whoever he works for, they'll be able to look after us for the 2 weeks we're here. What he asked for, that's my bread and butter. I could be in and out in the next 6 hours. I prefer to give a bit more prep time, but if you want me to do it, it's no trouble.
I did not see much purpose in working for Aquidian. Much benefit to us, I mean. Though you make a good point. I don't think we should be quick to start working with him without knowing more about what is going on. We do not need to be in the middle of some citywide power play without knowing which factions we have tethered ourselves to.
Yeah, I mean, of course I do some reconnoitering first. I've already made some contacts in the city. A member of the Dockers, his name's Dabar, dwarf. He operates the kids in the markets. Pretty standard operation, but he told me that Equidian is outside of the two main factions of Underworld. It's the Dockers and the former Lamplighters, like I was warning you last night. I haven't had a chance to look into Amandi yet, the family that hold the urn, but it wouldn't be hard to make the connections.
We should probably do that before we make more decisions. Though I agree with you, better accommodation would not be a terrible idea. If
The
it
other
was
thing-
through Aquidian or someone else.
Yeah, no, right. The other thing I noticed during the meeting, and Spider like pulls their napkin up and like spreads it across the table, and then dips his finger in some jam or something, and then he draws the two signets that he saw on Equidian's rings.
Sure thing.
Alexandre pulls out a pen.
I'm not carrying a pen. It's up in the room.
I am. I'm handing you a pen.
Yeah, I get like halfway through the first one, you hand me a pen, I'm like, wipe it off. Sorry, I left my stuff upstairs. I thought this would be quicker. Right. These two signets, Equidian was wearing them, and it's... do I need to explain to you why that's weird to be wearing two different signet rings?
No.
Right.
Do either of these symbols look familiar?
Roll something really high on learning.
Sure, why not?
As upper class, would I know anything about this?
Okay, so sort of your gimme is that two signet rings. A signet ring is usually from Alexandri's background. It's your family.
Yeah.
The only time you've ever heard of anybody wearing two signet rings is someone really well placed in the Sinru, in the Meritocrates. It's essential, and often what it'll be is the Confederacy signet over the family signet. It's an affectation, a declaration of a higher loyalty, but it's so very rare. It's not quite gauche, but it's kind of yelling out loud whatever's sort of implicit. Like you're supposed to put, country over family. That's sort of implicit in being Sinru. That's the whole point. It's a meritocracy.
Right.
But you have run into those folks, particularly the fairly high ups, the ones who are sufficiently meritorious that no one's going to question their fashion decisions, as it were, that will have this affectation.
Like Edgewater Senior.
Yeah, that sounds definitely like something Daddy Dearest would
I'm just
do.
going to say, even he does it only. He actually does, yes, but only for exceedingly visible public events. It's not his common thing. It's when he wants to ram a message down someone's throat.
I got a 22 on the learning roll.
Wow. Okay, that's actually quite a good roll. So, the first thing that's very obvious to Chevalier is that he doesn't recognize either of them. And that's interesting. And the reason I say it's interesting is because, well, one of them isn't the Progress Confederacy. So if you rift off of what it is Alexandre knows, if the idea is the two signets would be, Confederacy over family, then the guess would be is the bottom of the two is family, but which raises the question about what's the other one, because it's not Confederacy. Do you understand what I'm pointing at there?
I have seen most of the signets from families within the Confederacy.
Yeah.
This is not one I have seen before, nor
me
is the
neither.
other used by the Confederacy.
Well, sorry, what was that, Alexandre?
How would we find out?
Well, there's probably a registrar or some sort of archive here in the city.
We also know that Aquidian, well, his nobility predates the Confederacy. We could find out what this area was prior.
I could ask the bartender.
Lucas, I think no.
I think no.
It's not the.
Probably we need some kind
Yeah,
of
I just nod and go back to eating my eggs.
Actually,
Wise.
something I think no, and then and then Lucas just turning back to his plate is an excellent place to stop for the break. Because we're about due, so I think that's what we'll do.
Nice.
Fantastic so far, folks. All right, so we're going to take a few moments, and we'll be back 3 or 4 minutes. Everyone refill your coffee mugs or whatever it is you're drinking, stretch your legs, and we'll be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you to everyone who's in the audience and whoever's catching up with us later on with the VOD. My tea kettle refused to turn on, which was rather distressing, and then I realized it was unplugged. That just tells you my state of mourning so far. So, that's been remedied, and I'm fine now. How about you? Okay.
I got some soda water.
Excellent. Doesn't require a kettle. Good plan.
Does not
I have
require a
soup.
non-switch. Soup.
Soup.
What kind of soup is it, Chantel?
It is homemade chicken soup that Liam made for me.
Yeah.
I needed something and he just left it simmering away, and now it's delicious.
That's what husbands are for.
That is what husbands are for.
Significant others of it.
Making chicken soup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what significant others are for.
Right.
Make soup.
Happy stuffs. Okay, so what?
So let's split the party.
I think it's
Yeah, we're splitting the party, Michelle.
all right. Yeah.
We've decided that actually we're going to go our separate ways. and
There's two ships.
I'm okay.
I mean, there were two captains.
I was just gonna say if you if you all think this is a good idea, I'm okay with it.
I made a point before. It was just like, do you want to go separate ways? Yes. Now we're going to have a court proceeding to work out which of the pair gets a custody of the stream. Loser makes new characters.
Shared custody, 1 week on, 1 week off.
I have done Stranger Things as a gaming format. I really have.
I mean, all jokes aside, Spider's next suggestion is that you guys go look into these signets and the Amandi family from legitimate means, and that he will ask around less legitimate circles.
Yeah.
Alone?
Well, I can't take Lucas with me now.
No.
How exposed were you two?
Now, this is the point where I find out that I gave you guys a name, and my notes make no sense, because you're using that name as though it's a last name. What did I tell you that character's name was? Because you're...
Oh, I might have only
Whittier.
written down one name.
No.
Amandi.
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Okay, all right. That's
You probably gave us a full name and I only wrote down half of it.
all right. Yeah, just double check your notes. I want to make sure in case I can't...
All mine says is Amandi, steal an heirloom from Amandi for Equidian.
Okay, all right. Because yeah, like I said, my problem is every once in a while is I'm glancing at my notes while talking, and so I'll only lift half of what I'm supposed to say. So I just want to make sure that I get that what I've given you actually matches what's supposed to have been said.
I've only got Amandi as well.
All right, okay. So yeah, that's not family name. That's first name.
I wrote some dude.
Right.
Okay, fair enough.
I didn't write those names down.
Then I don't feel so bad. Oh, great. So I'm still safe. Yay. Okay, keep going.
I know that
I'm
also
probably
goes by
not.
Rachel Gray.
Yes.
I'm probably not the best person to go sneaking around a city now.
Yeah.
No.
Rachel Gray was Jazina's.
And she
Speaking
was the
of-
one under the umbrella, and Zadreza was carrying it for her?
There was no Zadreza. I haven't told you this yet. It's time to tell you this.
Yeah,
I'll
that's a good
share that
idea.
information. How about that?
Yeah.
I think I saw Jazina
Our
at the
infamous Lady Grey.
festivities.
Right.
Yes?
What was she doing?
Walking. I only saw her for a moment and I just assumed, why shouldn't she go have fun?
Right. Yeah, I mean, was she with anyone?
Yes. Not someone that I recognize. That's
No.
right, isn't it?
No. In point of fact, it was obviously one of someone elderly lady, Ebon Elf, and
That's right.
definitely. some people want to be nobility, some people just are, and that was definitely the air of the slightly older, very much a stateswoman.
Yeah.
Sort of Alexandri's impression.
Yeah.
Just the way that she moved is obviously someone very much the way, Alexandri has seen people, her grand-mère, as she sort of grew into the role, because that's all Alexandri would have ever known was grand-mère in her, the apex of her career as a stateswoman within the Confederacy. But certainly, just sort of that way that everyone knows who it is they're looking at and are just, wow, it's her sort of thing. And yeah, Jazina was carrying the umbrella for her. And like I say, it was a Chinese pinwheel on top, essentially, which is so the point of the umbrella was to keep the sparks that were showering down from raining on her. So she had this blanket of starlight tumbling down around her was visually what it looked like. Right?
Right.
So, and Jazina was clearly her lady in waiting, I guess is the best way of putting it. It's the wrong term, but I can't get any closer.
Yeah. There was an elderly ebon elf with her. I don't know who is in charge or why. Do you think Aquidian may be representing her?
Yeah, I mean, for all of his pomp and show, he was definitely an underling. I actually picked Jazina as maybe his direct report, who was playing under her role. But if she was accompanying this elder, maybe they're the next rung up the ladder.
Perhaps.
If this stuff, and he points at the signets, predates the Confederacy, then we might have to dig outside of the judiciary. I wish I knew the city better.
Me too. But then if I knew the city better, I'd probably have to run from it faster. So...
Awkward truth, right?
I would imagine there would be still historic records.
That just might be
Perhaps that
buried
was
deeper.
mentioned.
I'll be honest, the chap I met, Daba, he didn't seem that interested in the Ebon Elves. He was a bit annoyed that all I wanted was information on Aquidian. Luckily, I was willing to grease the wheels pretty heavily.
Maybe somebody who isn't interesting is the one we should go with.
I can't take any of you to Darbal. The dockers would turn on us in an instant if there's money behind that wanted poster.
How do you know that it's not already happening?
Well, my best guess says that whoever put the bounty out on the lot of us didn't spend so many resources on it to have it travel fast enough to have outpaced our ship. So I think we're at
But then-
least a few days ahead of it.
But then we have people like Equidian who could very quickly find out where we'd been and have spies that know we're here.
But Quidian and his lot, they don't need the money. So we need to be more useful to them than whatever leverage they get for handing us in. And we need to get out of here as soon as we can. Did you use your real name with the captains?
Yes.
Well, to be fair, you two aren't that easy to hide anyway. Not in plain sight, anyway.
No. Spider, do you really hate the progress?
Lucas is just going to stare into his plate and slowly continue to eat.
I don't... Have you ever loved something or someone so much that you wish it would be better?
I don't know.
I think that the ideals our Confederacy was built on are beautiful. That people of talent and skill deserve to rise to the top. But that's not how the Confederacy works. It's a lottery. You get lucky where you're born, and that gives you the opportunity to explore talents and skills that those less fortunate never get.
But what's the alternative? There isn't one.
I think there is. I don't know what it looks like, but the problem is how heartless it all is, you know, like nobody... Meritocracy shouldn't be about selfishness. It's not about being the best person you can be so that you get the best out of it. It's about making everyone the best that they can be so that everyone gets the best out of it. And the only place I ever found that was on the streets. People like me, we have to stick together, well, until we don't, and then everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
So then, what do you do, or what do you say about people like Tolman?
Which one?
Both. It's a real one. So
They're both selfish pricks, to be honest. just in different ways.
So it sounds like it doesn't matter at all how you're born. If they're both selfish pricks and both of them were raised in very different circumstances.
I thought they were siblings.
One was a bastard.
To be fair, we only have the sister's interpretation of the brother. I would not trust it.
I didn't spend as much time with her as you did. I thought she just killed her family. I didn't realize.
She killed her brother, took his identity.
But she was base-born, like me then.
Half sibling, yes.
Well, so many of us are products of our surroundings, you know? I mean, we all are, I guess.
You think that about everyone?
No, don't. In fact, the people gathered at this table are just about the best people I've ever met. I've watched each of you be selfless in the last couple of weeks. Think about others instead of themselves.
That is very sad.
It's a sad world we live in, at least from the bottom's perspective. But don't have to be. Just need more people like you lot. Shoves a piece of meat in his mouth and says, "Now, are we getting to business or what?"
Okay. Research.
Okay.
Would we suspect, in terms of like some kind of historical, like archive, would that be near the is it Gavrino? How do we pronounce that? The residence where the tournament was. I'm calling it the governor's residence.
The Gaviniroi.
Gaviniroi. Gaviniroi.
Okay, so
Or the judiciary.
okay, so in point of fact, there's probably actually for record keeping. The question is, what records do you want? The almost guaranteed the guilds and merchants, they're all remarkably good record keepers. It's just that their focus is going to be mercantile. The judiciary, theirs is going to be focused upon more of the laws and policies and transgressions thereof. For just generally things like, birth records, taxation, that sort of thing, then probably that would be the sort of thing you'd expect anyone associated with the core government, which is what the Gaviniroi to manage. The Sinru, of course, that area is all private residences. It's not. There is a town hall, if you will, a city hall, and they will have records of their own kind. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that, for lack of a better way of putting it, this isn't now. The idea of publicly accessible records, that just lets people like Spider burn books, and we don't want that, thank you. And so it'll take you a little while to figure out probably the best place to go, but the issue is not going to be finding where to go. It's going to be getting in to see it. Because who are you people again? Why do you want access to the only copy of a particular set of records we have? This is a world where backups are done by commissioning someone to handwrite the book and a whole other copy of the book. Right? And so access to records is generally indirect. In other words, you could find a clerk or a steward and then tell them what it is you want and pay them a little bit of coin, and they would go digging through records and get back to you. But it's highly unlikely, short of Alexandre literally flaunting her name and rank, as to why any of you under anonymous, under your anonymous names, if you will, would be given access to critical records of which there's probably only one copy.
Could I not do that specifically, but not, be like, I am the correct. No, that's not what I want to do. But, yeah. So the upper class perk.
Yes.
States, in addition, representatives of the law generally assume you to be beyond reproach unless they're presented with compelling evidence to the contrary. Can I just be like, I am visiting from insert random name. I would like to see these records. Please to give.
Okay, so to do that, I think your upper class perk would give you all of the information required to do it right, and then I would probably need to see some kind of deception type roll, to be convincingly not Alexandre and yet still a noblewoman of credible rank and station.
I mean, at this point, why not just be Alexandre?
That's true.
Yeah,
Just use my name.
We kind of burned that bridge already, so it's just like, if we're going to be exposed, we might as well use the perks of being ourselves.
Totally. I mean,
that's true.
I've got the same feet, so maybe the two of us can just be a powerhouse. Just walk in there and just be like,
well, yeah.
We walk in and Z-snap.
You're just like, my idiot friend thinks this family dates back to this point. I know it's not true.
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
We've been studying history. It turns out I'm right. Here we go.
Sure, just the idea.
I like this idea better than having a convincing story, so I'm not going to.
I was snagged up mentally in that moment about D&D, the classic. You got verbal, somatic, and then gestures as visual. So to use the from now on, for the only way that perk actually activates is with a Z snap. It can't be done any other way. Condition.
Canon upper class Z snaps.
I've always assumed that's how you Eldritch Blast. Each one. Yeah.
Boom.
Things start getting pretty frenetic when you get multiple blasts. Yeah.
Well, it's each snap.
Boom, boom, boom. Yes.
All right.
I approve.
That was a probably unneeded diversion, but funny nonetheless. All right.
It was needed.
Okay, so Lucas and Alexandre, both of you make learning rolls, and let's just start with that. So legwork phase, it's going to be largely a bit of dice, a bit of role play, and we'll just sort of go around and sort out. So it's morning. You've basically got all morning. What I tend to do for these things is I just block out, 3 to 4 hour chunks. So, quote, the morning you guys are going to be doing, have breakfast, get out, try and run down some records, and this is going to be, and then I'll ask Spider and Chevalier what they're doing. That happens simultaneously in that block of time. Okay.
I mean, I'm not so sure I'm useful to Spider.
That's fine. You could be useful. I'm sure you could be useful elsewhere. Lucas, so what did Lucas
learning roll?
Yeah.
I got a 17.
17 for Alexandre. Good, yes. Right?
A 6.
That's 6.
I'm the clever one in this, so we've
I was
established.
just gonna say, the brains of the operation. Got it.
Yep.
Well, no, more the we walk in there. My idiot friend here.
I mean, Snark.
This is how we're gonna run this.
I mean, Snark.
I'm picking up brochures just to see where the nearest takeaway is.
You just had breakfast.
I'm always thinking about food.
All right. So
I like that the Hall of Records has an information center.
I was just gonna say. So I think so. It won't take you long
What to do at Glittercoast Bay?
Yeah, it won't take you long to figure out that probably the right place to be is actually going to be, if you want sort of general history, then probably in fact the place to go is going to wind up being over in the judiciary, which is sort of where the more general libraries and things like that are going to be. And then oddly enough, probably the second likely place that you would want to actually go check out is going to be up around Saints Row, because the various churches are all going to keep good historical record, general history. You're going to be able to pin down exact families and stuff, but for a general historical record, the various churches and temples generally do immaculate day-to-day record keeping, right? If you want to find out what the weather was 37 years ago on this day, they've probably got a journal entry for that. So yeah, so between those, so you'll be basically back and forthing between the judiciary and the temple district. I think is probably the correct answer there. As you say, with your perk, it's not going to be difficult. Well, actually, let's just do that differently. Both of you persuasion or some similar roll. Just don't roll badly, I guess, is going to be the thing.
Can I use presence?
Yes, presence is perfectly reasonable.
Why would you jinx me like that?
You're welcome. I'm glad to help.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
So about rolling badly.
Yeah. Pair ones.
No. Natural one on the 20.
Ooh, okay.
But a 6 on the other.
All right.
Do they explode?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Anytime I
Everything explodes.
Everything explodes,
yeah,
Drew.
anytime. So one of the rules about Open Legend is if I ask you to make a die roll, it's because the plot depends on it, and thus you are fully entitled to all of the things that make the plot go boom. Both in both directions. So if you open end, then it's Professor Edgewater puts on his cap and starts doing research. Yes, I'm totally okay with that answer.
So Professor Edgewater isn't great at reading today. He forgot his glasses, but his presence is a 26.
Right. So
That makes sense after last night, just saying.
This clock was at the bout.
I'm just gonna say, so for lack of a better way of putting it, I think Alexandria might be the one who figures out where it is you need to be, but it's Lucas that gets you in the door and gets you access to the information you need. Is sort of the
I just go over there. We're going there.
And certainly, interestingly enough, it's going to be very different. One group of people have heard of the Donahue family, blah blah, and so yes, you're recognized. And then whoever it is you're immediately dealing with. Oh my God, I saw you last night. It was 35 seconds of fanboy or fangirl that goes on, and all over the place trying to help you get what it is you need to get. So
I got fans?
Alexandria's miffed.
I reckon there's a moment when they're all holding around me and I look at Alexandria and I'm like...
So what is it you're looking for the morning? What exactly are you digging for?
I think family trees, like lineages and things like that. So it's looking for insignia, like the insignia and where, coming from that perspective.
All right.
Yeah, but also if we can find out which family Amandi actually belongs to, but
Excuse me.
Equidian?
anything, no?
Amandi?
Amandi.
Great, Amandi.
But both of them. but also how that relationship may have intersected, like timelines, whether or not I'm basically fact checking Aquidian's account.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's both of you. Okay, so I think let's both of you get a learning roll. I think is probably that. Hang on a second. No, actually, I think it would be. I think in this case it would actually be logic. Essentially, learning is recollection, whereas logic is figuring stuff out. And so I think that's closer to being a research sort of thing than other options.
Great. This is not Lucas's forte.
All right.
Oh my goodness, I rolled a natural 1.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sure.
And logic is not a thing I do. So,
Oh, no.
yeah.
Well, I got a natural 17.
All right. So let's talk about.
We're still in.
No, I'm just gonna say. So let's talk about the fail forward, because that's something I want to do more of. So what do you think? So I'm going to say that both of you are going to come up with some answers. All right. I think probably what's going to come of it is. And this is something that you won't catch up on initially, but I think what is going to happen is that the someone who's in the Clark area, where you guys are pulling books out and asking questions and getting assistance and whatever, someone there is going to actually know the family who you are digging into, and so word is going to get back, is what's going to come out of that one. You're going to find out the information you were looking for, but they're going to know someone's been asking questions about them. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
All right.
Sure.
Okay. So there's a couple things.
But we don't know that at present.
Correct. You guys do not know that is the case.
Okay.
All right.
I won't make a note.
So, all right. So there's a couple of good things. So let me just copy paste this into the chat. Oops, and that was the wrong button. Do not replace the entire paragraph. Just copy the first bit, Michelle. There we go. Skill testing questions, mouse use. So that is the name I have in my notes for who it is that you are investigating. Amandia Sim of Hort.
Where have you put this? Sorry.
I just tossed it into the chat for the. Oh, I'm in the wrong chat. That's not helping any. Give me a moment here. I'm being daft. It doesn't help if I paste it there. Hang on a second. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Blah. Unlawful disorder. 1 second. Just going to mute mics real quick.
Like,
Sorry,
I know more now, but I don't know why.
I actually had squelched audio on the stream for a sec, just because I wasn't sure if me closing Twitch and reopening it was going to feedback. So, apologies about that. Yeah. So my apologies. That's just. I literally must have saw one thing, clicked the other, opened the wrong chat window. I was wondering why no one was saying anything in chat. That's really awkward. Okay. Yeah. I'm a highly trained professional, but not here. Okay, so do respite chat. There we go.
I finally got the spelling of one of your characters' names right in my notes. Mm-hmm. I spelled Amandi correctly.
Excellent.
What?
In the Twitch chat.
I didn't see that at all. Now I've refreshed it, which makes it all go away. That's okay. Thank you. Got it.
Okay.
Twitch chat.
Yeah, let me guess. Not in that chat either? I mean,
No, you put it in the right place. I saw it.
Okay. It says do respite.
Yeah. Amandi Asim of Horton.
Mm-hmm. Locative names, by the way, are usually small town-sized affairs dotted around. And oddly enough, there's something I'm going to point out is that Horton is. I'm going to say with the 17 that Lucas is absolutely convinced he's never heard of Horton. which is really awkward. In fact, I'm also going to point out that to Alexandri, that's not the name, that's not the way that the Confederacy names things. Keep in mind, you're looking at names like Shining Capital, Breezy Point Bay, Glitter Delta Cove. Horton?
No, that's incorrect.
Yeah, that's not the format. They use a very
They do the Australian thing, Big Rock.
yeah,
Like, that's
descriptive geographic feature with a pleasant touristy sound. That's the way they do
Yeah.
things.
yeah.
And so Horton, what?
Is there a map? Where is Orton?
So you'll wind up doing a little bit more digging, and one of the things you'll find out is that Horton's, in fact, doesn't exist anymore. It's one of the outlying towns not far from Glitter Delta Cove, which is itself a city, and it was renamed when the Progress Confederacy took the area over. To Green Glen Forest.
Green Glen Forest.
Yes. And so there's this awkward. You're looking at it. I mean, locative names aren't uncommon. I mean, Alexandria could literally be flashing herself around as much as Alexandria of Shining Capital for the same effect as Alexandria Donadieu, or Alexandria Donadieu of Shining Capital. That would be a totally legit thing to do. I mean, it's serious name dropping, but so why would they be using the old name? As Lucas is going to clue in, by the way, at about the same time that his competitor last night, that he was fighting last night, was also Gatberg.
Gatberg.
Gatberg doesn't exist either. Gatberg is another one of those places that I think it was 50 odd years ago. I'd have to double check the history timeline. The Progress Confederacy bought this area under Silver and Steel. And so, one sec, just let me double check the timeline here. I want to make sure I've got it right. History, there we go. I'm bad at this. Please hold, because so much to remember. Okay. Not able to find it quickly. I'm not going to fuss about it, but it was something like 50 years ago, I believe. Policy of silver and steel. The Confederacy just straight up bought this chunk of terrain and moved in. They wanted a northern seaport because, keep in mind, this opens up. There's that set of islands off to the northeast. They didn't have a port up this way. This other than that's why Breezy Point Bay was built. It was a defensive structure originally. It's a deep water port for the Navy. And then eventually, as they expanded up, as the Confederacy expanded up the coast, they just straight up bought this area. So Gatberg is now Pleasant Meadows.
Pleasant Meadows.
Yeah. And that's a very but again, you've encountered someone who why would they still be using the old locative?
Is that a common thing here? Like, does it look as though those people happen to stand out, or that is what people are holding on to in this particular area?
I will ask you to make another logic roll then, please.
Okay. This is a great idea. I'm going to use the same die. 10.
A 10 is kind of a lukewarm roll, I guess is the best way of putting it.
It's 10 times better than the last one.
Indeed, it is. That is an everyday difficulty. Something, I'm going to say that as particularly where you've got the advantage of working alongside a Lucas, and that sort of thing.
And I'm sure I could ask someone.
I'm just going to say, yeah, you've got people to talk to and stuff like that. I think I'm going to actually allow you to re-roll under the idea that you literally have advantage 1 on this. Go ahead.
Okay.
you guys actually have sufficient resources that yes, I think, yeah.
16 this time.
All right. It seems Go ahead, Lucas.
I said that's better.
Yeah. I think between you and Lucas, you're going to rapidly come to the conclusion that, in point of fact, it's actually unusual. There doesn't seem to be that many families that are still using the old, that are stubbornly clinging on to the old names, if you will, for whatever reason.
That's interesting. How many can we, with our research? Are there do we have a list of names there, or is it?
It's a population of 9,800. It would take me a few minutes to work it. Actually, hang on a second here. Wealthy and aristocratic. That's 150. It's probably 8 families. So, I would say amongst the Sinro, it's probably something like maybe 25% at most are still using the old locatives in their family names.
Okay. Because that's using their old names is like a big stick it to the big guys, right?
Well, I would say it's probably got that flavor to from the perspective of, let me do it this way. I think that's how it tastes, if you will, to Lucas as someone who, as the Edgewater family. Edgewater isn't. Your father proudly will tell you that Edgewater isn't the original family name, but we don't care about that. Because now we're Confederacy. We've been Confederacy for N generations, and that's what matters, right?
Yeah.
So I think to Lucas, in particular, possibly less Alexandria, as Nouveau Riche, the system has worked remarkably well for the Donadieu, but but also doesn't have the depth of tradition within the Confederacy. She's, Grand-Mère literally struck it rich as you were and was rewarded by the system for doing so, but she could have just as easily been Spider. But from Lucas's perspective, I think, it probably has almost a bitter taste to it. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least, it's interesting. At least.
Yeah, I just found it actually. It's 25 years ago 25 years ago, the city was acquired under the policy of silver and steel, and then the city was renamed according to Confederacy conventions.
Oh wow! So the people who were essentially bought by the Confederacy are still alive.
Yeah, 25 years ago, by definition, if they were your age now, they'd be your parents' age. They'd be your parents' age for sort of that would be the progression. Yeah. It's a generation later.
Right.
Now, one of those things I think again, Alexandria and Lucas's position, and particularly with their perks, would let them know, is that. One of the things about the policy of silver and steel is that if you were, a feudal lord or a feudal lady, when the meritocracy rolls in and buys your neighborhood, essentially you're pensioned out. You are not part of the meritocracy, but you are treated as an important citizen, and because the meritocracy, they literally. Land ownership is done for the Confederacy. You don't, there's no such thing as I own 100 acres. No, I manage 100 acres, right? And that is the way the process works. And so for those, for the particularly any kind of a feudal society where land ownership is a key to power, what tends to happen is just to deal with potential insurrection, hard feelings, blah blah. They just get pensioned. You can just continue you and your immediate family can continue on with your standard of living, and that'll give you a generation to sort out where you fit in the meritocracy and actually become, useful. So you're not going to suffer. Your immediate children aren't going to suffer, but hopefully, your grandchildren will have gotten their crap together. Okay, right? Because otherwise, you're just basically begging for a war. The Confederacy is nothing if not efficient. It can just be a little bit cold-blooded about its efficiency some days.
So I'm just trying to figure this out from Lucas's perspective. I think what he's reading is that these people are, there's, resentment. Really?
I think that's a perfectly valid interpretation of the information you have, yes.
And based on how Aquidian described it as a thing.
The other thing I'm going to let you guys know, and it is something that we will literally be doing a scene change on, is Lucas and Alexandre flipping through books, and Alexandre having the aha moment and finding the crest of the old city before it was purchased by the Confederacy. And guess what it looks like?
Yeah, great. Aquidian's
Right.
signet ring.
The higher of the two signets.
Okay.
And I think that it will be an excellent moment to cut over to Spider.
Yeah. So Spider's angle for this. There's a few things I want to do, but I can't do the first until I know who Amandi is, so that'll have to come after we meet again. Yeah, so I think the plan is, so yeah, Spider approaches Chevalier and says, we need to find out how bad the damage is. We should see if anyone's started looking for or asking questions about Lucas or Alexa.
No. You could check with your contacts that you have been making. See if they have heard anything. Perhaps.
Wouldn't hurt to have some intimidating presence along, though. And he just sort of like gives you a goofy half smile.
Well, then let's go.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, I think like I'm gonna head towards where like I met Daba the day before.
Yeah, down in the I just you were out in the middle of the oh goodness grief. The Great Market. That's where you were. Yes.
Yeah, not like the caravan market, the other
Yeah,
the
Great,
sort of
literally it's
main
called
bazaar.
the Great Market. Yeah. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. So yeah, how bold about this are you being? I mean,
I guess it depends how much I picked up from like the urchin that I sort of bushwhacked yesterday in terms of how to contact Daba.
well, I don't think I was just going to say, well, it was literally the kid just told you where roughly he was often found hanging out. You know, basically, but you know, check here, here, and here. Leave me alone, pal. Was sort of, you know, the extent of it. But yeah. So, you know, you've got a few places to look is basically the best way of explaining finding Dabar.
Yeah, right. I mean, then I guess that's where I start is revisiting those places and
Yep.
trying to find them.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's awkward. Why would you do that? Sorry, just my world anvil being odd here. Okay, there we go. Yes. Yeah. So basically in this particular case, you're going to wind up encountering him down the one of the south east corner there. There's a bright green tent, if you notice the map. Just not far from the blacksmith shop. There's a fairly noisy area. He's going to be, holding up holding up the side of a large crate, smoking from a pipe, ostensibly watching people go by. And when, that will be where Spider's going to decide to notice him. Like I say, once you know who he is, he's a pretty distinctive figure. He's got a pick nose to him. The eyes are kind of dark and kind of sunken and visibly tattooed over most of his available, skin. Sort of a dour countenance about him and rough-looking clothes. He just does not fit into to anything around him. He looks like he ought to be down on a dock schlepping bags of grain or something, as opposed to in the middle of probably the busiest chunk of the mercantile season of the Great Market is sort of the mercantile engine of this city. For most of the year. I mean, right now it's being sort of outdone by the caravan district, but once the caravans unload it and the ships deliver it, it winds up eventually going through here. Is sort of the whole point of the Great Market. As I described, a lot of these places look like temporary stalls and booths and things like that, except all of the tent pegs have got grass up to your knees around them, i.e. they haven't been moved in a very long time. That sort of thing. So they're permanently temporary structures or temporarily permanent structures, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and is he alone or is he like with...
He's actually chatting with hang on a second here, let me just double check something. Chatting with a dragonborn, who they're obviously having a disagreement about something, and after a few minutes the dragonborn woman passes over a bundle and a small bag, and sort of fine, sort of the reaction back from the dwarf, and she heads off and shortly thereafter vanishes into the crowd. This place, by the way, is an absolute zoo. Like I say, with the spring flood, the city is heaving in terms of people. The usual population, it's still got its winter population, and there's probably 1,000 extra people that are here between caravans and ships right now.
Daba, my old friend, good to see you again.
Wish I could say the same. He laughs, rummages in his pack and pulls out a pipe and offers it to you. Who's your very chum?
Yes, well, this fine gentleman. I look up at
just for perspective, by the way. Dabar is a stone dwarf. He's pretty solidly built. He's kind of almost as wide at the shoulder as he is tall, but compared to Chevalier, that's about a half-scale representation.
Yeah. Would we have discussed like a pseudonym for you, Chevalier?
My name is Marcus. Hello.
Shame you didn't introduce me to your pretty little friend before she ran off.
Oh, she's shy about meeting new people. always trying to keep herself low to the ground. You know what I mean?
I do. I had a meeting with the acquaintance we previously discussed, and it was interesting, but not as rewarding as I'd hoped, perhaps. My friend Marcus here had some question about some other business in town. And I couldn't think of anyone wiser to bring him to than you, Darbar.
Dabart has a puff off of his pipe, kind of snorts a black of smoke out of one nose. He says, "You are really hard up for friends then. What can I do for you?"
I was interested if there has been anyone asking around about a group of outsiders from the city.
One sec. GM is going to make a die roll. Please hold. Nothing to be concerned about here. Absolutely nothing to be concerned about. Darbar frowns for a moment. That's a funny question this time of year, he says. See, even if someone was looking for someone, say, named Edgewater, there's about 1,000, 1,500 extra people in this city. It'd be really hard to find them, particularly if they didn't make a spectacle of themselves. You know what I mean there, you know what I mean there, my friend?
Yeah. And say someone named, for example, Edgewater, did make a spectacle out of themselves, though. People would start asking questions, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Probably it'd look like a half dozen bounty hunters that are down staying at the Coldwater Inn right in the docks. Probably look just like them.
Look something like us, I imagine.
No. Better chins.
I like him.
Yeah, he goes
By the
all
way,
right.
is Spider actually having a draft off that smoke? Like you basically got a pipe in one hand and a match and a slow burning match in the other if you want to.
Yeah, I'm disguised as Bill again, presumably, given that that was who I
Bill
approached
27
him
or
with.
whatever it was. Yes. Bill 21. Yeah.
Can I tell whether it's like any sort of intoxicant or whether it's just like a tobacco sort of smoke?
I'm just going to say at the point you're paranoid about it, I'm going to say you're allowed to make a roll. I'm actually going. You know something? No, it's. Sorry, I'm GM here, having to unlearn old habits. One of the things to get used to with open legend is if it doesn't affect the plot, the answer is just give the answer. So in this case, it doesn't affect the plot, it's just tobacco. No, he's just being.
Yeah, I think if I can tell that it's not anything suspicious, then I light it up and have a light puff. But I'm definitely doing like the classic, like not proper inhaling, just sort of look like I'm smoking.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you're just gonna have a draft. You're not gonna really inhale. We've heard that story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got a bit of a bitter yet apple sort of flavor to it. You're not really. It's kind of an odd combination. So yeah.
Well, there you have it, Marcus. Competition.
I'd no, just don't forget there. My good friend, he says, clapping you on the shoulder and a little puff of smoke out the nose. Yeah, nothing's free in this world, right? So don't forget where you get your tips and news from, right?
And what kind of news might this buy me today? And I'd like pull out plot appropriate amounts of money.
Yeah, a little bag, and he doesn't even really look at it. And yeah, well, so he kind of kicks a little bit at the ground, and a little bit of charcoal by the way, I've commented on this prior. There's everywhere you guys go, there's sort of this mixed into the gravel. There's ground up charcoal, and there's sort of ash mixed into everything. Now, one of those things that Chevalier knows, or I think this is going to be one of those things where Spider, just because of where Spider spent the past chunk of his life living, probably isn't going to seen it. But Chevalier is sort of, I think, aware that the Confederacy is meticulous about its housekeeping, if you will. Shining Capital is there's a small army of people whose job it is to literally wander around, keeping the streets clean, and they invest a tremendous amount of energy in urban tidiness, entirely on the idea that if you don't have a plague of rats feeding on garbage, you are less likely to have a plague of plague. That sort of thing. So there's a pride to it, but there's also the practical part of having a third of your population die due to a plague is really, really hard on the economy. So so just this idea that everywhere you've been going, there's just kind of, like I say, mixed into the ground, into the gravel air of old roads. Everything is just charcoal. Is probably one of those things that's been puzzling Chevalier all along, because it just doesn't fit the Confederacy as a mentality. And so Dabar will kind of kick a little bit, and a little puff of dust will curl away with the well, I suppose. I tell you what. Let's. Have you got a question you've got in mind? Is there anything you'd like me to keep my ears open for? How about that then?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just taking a moment to think of it, but I'm sure Spider or Chevalier would have the right question to ask at this moment.
Take your time.
I, as Jamie, am not.
Take a moment.
I think continuing the ruse is probably the way. What was the name of the inn you just mentioned? Sorry, the bounty hunters down somewhere you mentioned.
I believe I said it was the Coldwater Harbor.
Coldwater Inn.
Cobalt Water.
Yes, Coldwater Inn. There we go.
Yeah, so he says, well, say there was a bounty hunter staying at the Cobalt Water Inn who came along and said, oh, what do you know about this Edgewater chap who appeared in the middle of the melee last night, making a spectacle of himself, and where he might be found and who he might be with? What kind of information would you share with such a bounty hunter?
Well, I mean, I don't think it'd take a lot of. There's a few things you sort of have to give away because everybody knows what the answers are. So if someone's dumb enough to pay for them, you may as well, pony up on those coins. So I'd probably tell him to check the Adventurer Bar. I might forget to tell him which one it was, but I'd probably tell. It's not really hard to find out that it'd be the Blue Sky Inn, now would it? Probably tell him to look around there because almost everybody winds up over there. And I'd probably tell him that there's a particular chap named Lancium who's not too kindly disposed, might want to have a private rematch. You never know how those things might go, but that'd probably be all I'd give him. Wouldn't want to. It's bad for business to talk too much.
Of course. And say another bounty hunter and his extremely large friend were to approach you and wish to offer you something in order not to spread that information anymore, such that they might have a unique opportunity.
Oh, unique opportunities. Now, those unique is expensive, you see. That's the problem. But I got a sense with you that there's a lot of opportunities. So maybe I'll tell you what, if they were to show up, because they would probably be friends of yours, I'd probably just do that anyway, with the idea that it's a good investment in the future. just do keep in mind, almost anybody could find out what I would have told them, because it's a big city. Lots of people know lots of things.
Lots of mouths. Oh.
And one of those truisms about this place is all the unfun stuff is out after dark, and everything of interest comes via the docks. So someone's going to notice.
And who better than the dockers?
Aye, who
Well,
indeed.
Looks like we have an appointment to play some cards at the Cobalt Water, Marcus.
Yes. It was very nice meeting you.
Oh, got a crick in me neck, but good on you to see you.
I shake his hand, and he's got a few extra coins after that.
Okay. Very good. So he'll have a puff out of his pipe and give you a nod and a wave and set you on your way.
I think we might be overdue for a break, Michelle.
That's where I was going with that. That was exactly where I was thinking would be a good place to wrap up. It is quarter after. I just didn't want to clip that scene right in the middle. So yeah, we'll take a break, folks, and then we'll be into the last wrap of the session. I hope everyone's having fun. So we'll be right back with cards, I guess. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you for hanging out for the while we get our mugs refilled and our legs stretched and all the other good stuff that goes with gaming. So, something about cards I heard, yeah?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is that coincidentally, through a strange, odd coincidence, that you've both roughly gotten done your respective tasks by the end of the morning. Whatever that means. And so coincidentally, if you wanted to hook up again, you could.
We just meet at the same hot dog stand?
Yeah, what a strange coincidence, right?
What a plot appropriate.
Or, you know, given that we made plans during breakfast, a prearranged meeting place
Yeah, you know.
for lunch
Oh,
or something.
okay. I was ready for it to be a V, you don't even eat. Why are you here?
I'm aware that you need to eat.
All right. So,
I think it would make sense that we'd say, hey, let's meet back up at this place at this time.
well, yes, because I mean, obviously,
and it not be the end.
the whole point of this is information gathering. The worst thing you will, you know, it only counts if you actually share the information you gather.
Yeah.
So, meeting back at the inn or elsewhere.
I think Spider would suggest elsewhere, given what we're out to do.
Yeah, so I mean, the obvious place in terms of raw chaos value would actually be the caravan district right now, because literally it's, you know, over the past practically every hour another 5 to 10, you know, caravan has been rolling in for the 2 days that you've been here. So the place has gone from largely empty to just about heaving in the span of, you know, 48 hours. So if you're looking for, you know, relative anonymity in plain sight, that's a good option. But it's, like I said, it's a city of 11,000 people. There's all kinds of places to go hang out in. Between, you know, the guilds and merchants areas is going to be the equivalent of restaurants there, just because that's you know, places for lunches and things like that. Likewise, the rest of the Red Bricks district, that's basically what it is a services district. The Great Market's going to have any number of food stalls and things there, just servicing the folks strolling around while shopping. And then there's any number of other pubs and that sort of thing scattered throughout the rest of the city. So it really does come out to, where do you want to be?
I imagine. Okay, this is Drew's fantasy brain going, but like we pick the most random spot to have our conversation, which ends up being like some kind of massage parlor where we're all lying down getting like massages. And we're discussing or something. Like it's
except the
like we meet up. We're like
Alexandria would just watch.
Yeah, no, we meet up. We say we've got to go somewhere discreet, and the cutscene we're in a massage parlor. Like,
I do not think that means what you think it means.
yeah.
No.
Oh gosh.
I think I'm standing outside while you do that.
So, what did you find?
Not good news.
So I'm going to arbitrarily say you folks are over there-ish, at a little place on a street corner, having a bite to eat in a quiet corner, where coincidentally you were unlikely to be happened upon by wandering bounty hunters.
These glitter buns are great.
Yeah. I definitely underestimated the flow of information here. There's already bounty hunters who've started asking questions about you after last night. From what I could tell, they didn't know anything about Alexandria. So I guess that is good news.
Okay. But they know that we're traveling with Alexandre.
We were all on the same post, though.
To be clear, is it the same people? Or is it two groups? Is it one group from last night?
I'm not sure what you're asking, sorry.
You're saying we're on the same poster. How do we know it's the same poster that they're looking at?
No, that's true. They may not have seen it. They may have
just
heard the name somewhere.
If they only know Lucas, it is more likely that they were there last night. Or someone is specifically looking for Lucas now.
These are bounty hunters. For them to be interested, there needs to be a bounty.
Oh, now you're being all
After last night, it would draw attention to him, but not necessarily an official bounty, despite the fact that we also learned that your opponent is potentially looking for a, how did he phrase it? Private rematch. But the bounty hunters appear to be staying in an inn on the docks. Unclear if they are themselves a group or individuals.
I think if they were at the match last night, we wouldn't have had such a peaceful night's sleep. But word travels fast in a city this big, so...
Even still, I'm watching my back in case this Lancium comes seeking me out.
I mean, you beat him once.
Now he bears a grudge.
Or if he's the kind who fights fair, as it were.
Well, one is meant to fight fair in the arena. It doesn't mean they're going to do this thing in a private match. Lucas then looks over his shoulder. Just to be like, okay.
It's not like if there's 7 people sitting there staring at you.
He's right there.
Yeah.
He's at the next table, hasn't seen you yet.
My first instinct is to go and have a word with these professionals at the Coldwater. Question is whether that word carries a heavy iron fist behind it, or whether we want to go a little more subtle.
That would make a change.
Yep. Well, I earned that one.
Yes, you did.
We could, if we are able to convince them that pursuing us is likely to be more trouble than it is worth, that would be useful. It would depend if it is a group of bounty hunters working together, then we just need to convince the group. But if it is a collection of individuals each going after a bounty,
Yeah, the feeling we got from
Convincing each
Darbar is like
be hard.
there might have been like separate instances, right? Michelle?
What I think the phrase he used was, "quote, a bunch of bounty hunters." Now, what that the problem is that it's hard to say what the
It's
hell.
not helpful.
Yeah, that's you know, it tells you have a problem. It doesn't tell you how big the problem is.
Well, we found something.
Yeah. Please tell us.
And I'm going to pull out a piece of paper with family trees and insignias and things that in the 4 hours that we had, Lucas scribbled down and copied.
Yep. Makes sense.
Just imagine like movies with like a phone booth. It's like just tearing the pages out. It's like, what have you done? Why?
I didn't have a pen, so I just took the whole page.
But I was offering you a pen the whole time.
Yeah.
You didn't offer me one.
I was just gonna say.
Do Edgewaters just not use pens?
No, we use our
I regret
fists.
making the joke. Go back to when you skate.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Say, literally, you wouldn't have actually been able to do that. That would have gotten you thrown out almost immediately. So that just didn't happen. Keep going.
But yes, we have some interesting information on lineage and how, well, the names of some of the families that live here in Glitter Delta Cove. They're still holding on to their old names. And one of them, well, the old insignia for the city just happens to be the same as what is on the signet ring of Aquidian.
They're anti-Confederates then.
Well,
Or at least not pro-Confederates.
In general, it is as if they are actively trying to maintain some sense of their previous self, that they are not completely Confederate, with them using old names, but also resisting cleaning away the evidence of the fire. It is not just the previous nobles holding on to the past. But you're right, that does not necessarily make them antagonistic towards the Confederacy, but they are certainly not fans.
Well, I mean, I can't say I'm wild about the idea of getting involved in provincial blood feuds, if that's what it is, but I don't have a better idea off the top of my head of how to get us out of sight.
Other than getting involved in a provincial blood feud.
I mean, I can try and keep it quiet. Did you find out who this Amandi person was?
he is of the House of Horton.
Right.
Which doesn't exist now.
Well, I can find out where he lives. I can case the place. I don't have to know who any of us are. But, I mean, it is still getting involved one way or another.
Perhaps we can be as obvious as adventurers can be and hang out at the Blue Skies Inn as a somewhat alibi while you go do that.
This is a crazy idea, but hear me out. What if, under some pretense, you were to go and visit this Mr. Horton, and someone were to convince a group of bounty hunters that that was the best place to find you, causing a ruckus or distraction?
Why would we want to do that? You are correct. That is crazy.
Well, causing a ruckus and distraction tends to be very good for stealing things.
Okay, but the part that I'm not understanding is why you think it would be a good idea to put ourselves in the middle of that. We're going to steal one thing.
Well, Lucas could be... I haven't quite got this bit yet, but...
Yes,
What
I
if
see
it-
that.
No, okay, wait, we're getting there.
Okay. I'm going to cast a boon. I'm gonna try to cast bolster to bolster my target's chance of success via inspiration. It's purely narrative, but I'm literally standing there going, "You can do it. You've got this. You can." Come on.
I was just gonna say, and then there's this warm summer music begins to play in the background. Unfortunately, subtoned by the Jaws theme, which is a little disconcerting.
We didn't manage to learn anything about what the actual feud is between these two people. I'm fairly certain Aquidian wasn't lying about what this urn is and what it means, but...
I don't think he was lying. I don't think he was telling us everything, though.
Exactly.
The first part of the plan sounded good. Actually go and see this person.
Purpose, though, that's...
We would need to. We don't have any reason to do that. Do we know who this person is within the city? What do they do?
No, but does anyone?
Well, I guess that's the next step. Who would know? Where can I find out this information?
Yeah, keep in mind it's lunchtime. It's
What was that?
midday. We'll call it midday.
Yeah.
So
I think
Could
that game of cards might actually be a decent idea.
I'm sorry, what?
Well,
You're going to go play cards?
it's a good way to find out things about people. Just need to find the right game.
Who are you playing with?
That's what I need to work out.
Okay. Can I ask, please, Michelle? Could I use my Whisper of the Wild? I get to ask a yes-no question. My question is, do any of the bounty hunters know where we are right now?
no.
Okay. Just worth knowing. I feel like that's going to be a constant thing that I do every session until that's resolved. Do they know where we are now? How about now? And now?
And the moment Michelle says yes, you know they're going to be in your face.
They're right in front of us.
Yes or no? Do they know where we are? Roll initiative.
I guess then we need to make a decision. Are we going to do this? Are we going to steal the thing?
If it has a benefit.
Well,
Do you think, as a to get this to work, we are going to have to do this for Aquidian and then do whatever the next job is as well.
yeah.
Something we do not know anything about.
Yeah,
But-
this is essentially an addition. Can you get it done?
This is the
Keep your
thing.
mouth shut. Is really
But for us to get his protection, we would need to do at least 2 jobs.
Exactly. You do the audition, then you get the chance to name your price.
What
It's like
I
paying
am
rent.
thinking,
Like,
when was the last time you paid rent?
exactly. Like, we are paying rent by doing things for this person. And as a result,
Rent of
we
what?
can
So?
stay in their hidden catacomb.
Do they have a hidden catacomb?
I don't know. I assume so.
I mean, it's not hidden if you know about it now.
Hidden in the sense that people don't go in there, maybe.
What I was suggesting, we might, all we need to do is get out of the city to be underway. We have 2 options for that, but they are not leaving for a little while, and this is quite an important time, I would imagine, for both of them. But what if we look into what it would take to get them to move up their schedule? The less time we are in the city, the less protection we would need. I don't know if their requirements would be easier to achieve, but it might be something we could investigate.
Is there going to come a time when they're just going to catch up with us?
Potentially.
That
Which
was
is
the-
why we might want to dissuade them. But as long as there is a reward for our capture, there will be people wishing to collect it. And I'm not entirely convinced the bounty was put out far too quickly. So I don't know the motivation behind it. But it is very suspicious.
We never found out who put the bounty out, did we?
No.
Thing is, if we can get out of the Confederacy, it's probably not worth a bounty hunter's time to collect.
Exactly. But my concern would be that the person looking for us is motivated enough to find other means. But for now, the bounty hunters are the more pressing concern. We either need to find a place to hold up that is safe, or we need to leave as soon as possible. If we can influence the bounty hunters in that process, that would be convenient but it does not. It is not a priority.
I will ask Spider to make. Gosh, what would be the dice that makes the most sense for this? Give me a moment here. I need to. Let me just check something real fast. I need a roll. I think it's going to actually be a logic roll from Spider. He's the person most likely, I think, to clue to this.
What is, if it's about like, I'm just looking at the way these are described, because logic,
Actually, well, no, it'd be learning.
it feels like it.
Yeah, it'd be learning. Yeah, recollection is learning.
Yeah, if it's recollection about facts, it'd be learning. If it's like a gut feeling, it would be perception.
Okay, I'll
That's
tell you what,
literally one of the things.
I'll let you roll either learning or perception.
My guess is, obviously I don't know exactly what I'm rolling for, but my guess is it's more about catching the gut feeling. So I'm going to go
Yeah,
with
I think
perception.
that makes sense. I'm okay with that color, as it were.
Oh, that
Flavoring.
explodes. 6 plus 8 is 14, and then another 7, 21.
Okay. So there is a catch, and I'll point it out as something Spider would be aware of, is if bounty hunters are here in the city already, kicking the crap out of them is simply going to, even if nobody, if the bounty hunters are outsiders, which is broadly hinted at by the fact that they're staying down the docks district, kicking the crap out of them or threatening them in a way that, would convince a bunch of professional bounty hunters to not draw weapons and start a fight, is going to be really, really, for lack of a better way of putting it, socially noisy.
Yeah.
There's going to be an awful
Puts
lot
more
of
people on the
there's,
tram.
there's going to be an awful lot of people who, even if you guys were to show up incognito and kick the crap out of them, it's going to immediately raise the question, who would want to kick the crap out of a bunch of bounty hunters? What bounty were they chasing that's worth sending a hit squad after the bounty hunters?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Chevalier has already pointed that out as well.
I just wasn't sure if that was...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I think I say, well, I think the best way to keep the hunters off our trail in the short term is to feed them misinformation rather than to announce our presence. But I'm with you, Tin Can. If we can get that schedule moved up, then solves all the problems. And we don't need to get involved in whatever nastiness is happening here.
Alexandre, there were 2 captains that we were looking at.
Yes.
If we can convince one of them to move their schedule forward, can we talk to the other and maybe also commit to leaving on time? But one of them we keep secret.
Probably. Yes. Good to ask.
I know that that female captain took a shining to your performance. I'm not saying you need to come through with that seduction that Jasper was telling you about, but maybe you can work it.
Is this another
I was just going to say, we've now had Z-Snaps and Work It in the episode.
And work it?
We're like
What?
this close to being an episode of Drag Race at this point.
Oh my goodness.
I was going to say either that or next week's guest star is going to be Beyonce. I mean, it's...
I'm ready. I don't know. Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't think anyone's ever ready for the Queen Bee. So yeah.
No one's ever ready for Queen Bee. Yes. I can ask.
It's just an idea. Jasper, you were saying potentially spreading a misinformation.
So we ask one to leave early and one to leave on time.
And we jump on with the early one.
Would we go with the early one or would we go with the one on time and just hide for some days?
That could work.
Yeah. If we could spread information that we were going on the later one, that would be better. But if it is easier to do it the other way, then we are back to needing to find a place to hide. But the more misinformation we can supply, the better, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, Spotter, I don't think it's going to be any news whatsoever. If Aquidian is basically able to... Aquidian is straight up said he has a spy network keeping track of what's coming and going through the docks, which means he's either has something to do with the dockers, or whoever, or his influence base is such that he's not, that the dockers don't mind him playing in their backyard.
Yeah, well, that was the
I was just gonna
suggestion that I got.
Well, yeah, exactly. So either way, having Aquidian, if the idea is tell everyone we're leaving early and then hide for an extra week, then that brings you back to the idea of trying to... Aquidian would no doubt have the resources to have you vanish for a week's duration and yet still be able to catch your ship on time.
I feel, however, if we tried to convince people that we left on the earlier ship, we could end up with a situation where people wanting to catch us use the later ship. As it
Yeah, or they just end up ahead of us, right? Because they take the earlier ship.
Yes, we have a montage on a ship of us hiding indoors.
So funny.
It would be more beneficial to us to convince them that we'd left on a ship going somewhere else.
I could do that as well.
This is becoming so Scooby-Doo, and I love it.
We're
If
getting
you-
so deep in the layers.
I mean, we've already
want me
been
to-
pretty obvious about where we are going. It might be a little difficult to pull that off.
Or it would make perfect sense. People know where we're going, so we try to get a ship going somewhere else completely.
It is possible. Though no one goes to Düsseldorf without a purpose, it might be suspicious if we suddenly plan to go elsewhere. I'm not
What
saying
about us
it's
is not suspicious?
suspicious is probably the wrong word.
Spider twirls the fake mustache.
A harder piece of information to believe. Not that that makes it impossible, and it would certainly be beneficial if we can pull it off, but more difficult, certainly.
Alrighty, folks. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is that time.
No, I wanted
You didn't need to bear the bad
Sorry.
news, though. Like, you could have just not.
So,
Damn it. There was one last thing I wanted to do.
what was that? What was that? We do have...
I was going to leave the decision making up to them, but I was going to try and find Amandi's house and case it a bit, but like just get an idea
I think
We can do that next time.
yeah, we'll open with that. You guys, so you essentially have all afternoon, as it were, to dig in for anything else you want to do.
Regardless of whether we're going to make the choice to do it, it would be good to know how to do it if we decide to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Next week on Unlawful Disorder. That's Amandi's house.
That's a pretty urn.
Oh, look, they're cleaning out all of the urns in the front yard right now.
You have so many urns.
Pose as urn cleaners.
Sam, we might have just found our inn.
Alexandria's urn cleaners. I got... All right, I think that's plenty. I think that's an excellent point to wrap up on. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Tremendously fun as always. Amazing role play as always. You guys are an absolute delight to GM for. But time to say the goodbyes. So let's start with Drew.
Goodbye. I'm Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Wilson. What else? You can read my little blog with some little snippets from Lucas's journey, little vignettes at Tales from the Tavern at... I keep saying that at as though it's like an email address. It's not. It's a website. talesfromthetavern.wordpress.com.
Got it. All right. Sam?
Oh, I'm Sam. You can find me on Twitter at @the_RealSammyP. I'm a voice actor and performer based in Australia. Most recently, thing you can hear me in is the Penny Peep show's Town Called Prodigal, which is now fully out. In fact, I think there's a couple other shows now that are out. You should listen to them.
Okay. Jamie?
Yeah, hi, that's me. I'm Jamie Collette. You can find me here on Saturdays and Wednesdays. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or on my website, jamie-collette.com. You can also find me tomorrow on facebook.com/streamed Shakespeare, playing Stefano in The Tempest, which is a lot of fun. And you can also see some of the shows I've directed there, Julius Caesar and the other one. The one in the forest. There's a lot of them. I can't remember.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
No, not that one.
Winter's Tale.
Yeah.
As you like it.
As you like it. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I directed that one. I should probably remember, but it was like a month ago, and my brain's filled with 3 other shows now.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine trying to do 3 different shows in a month live stream. That's mad.
Oh, yeah, and the week after that, I'll be playing Lucius in Titus Andronicus, so, you know.
Right. And I have trouble remembering my phone number. Awesome. Chantal.
Hi. Bye, I guess. I am Chantal B. I'm an actor. I write stuff. I do a lot of streaming. I talk about TTRPGs a lot. You should come hang out with me on Twitter at Chantal B. You can find me at wordswithcolor.com, where I write lots. I just do lots of it. I can't stop. So come and indulge me. I will be back in 12 hours to play Far From Home right here, which is a sci-fi Savage Worlds game. I'm really excited for that too, because it's been like 3 weeks. Yes, it's the Crab of Happiness. Leave me alone.
I was just going to ask what that was. There's a few of them. I'm 50, so I'm a little behind the time on thing, but this one had me.
It's a happy crab.
Okay, got it. That's a new one for me. All right.
That is, yep, that's it.
Sure. What? Where am I again? And I am Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the storyteller game master for this fantastic group. You can catch up with me on Twitter, MichelV69, where I talk about just different stuff I've learned, both as an author as well as storyteller. And you can catch up with me Sunday mornings at 9 PE Gaming here on Twitch, where I do more of pretty much the same thing, as well as make cool maps for cool reasons. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're catching us on the VOD later on, thank you as well. Deeply appreciate all of the feedback we get and your time just hanging out with us when we do, for our game that we're all enjoying so much. Do Respite is a show series by Eric. It's his idea, it's his brainchild, it's his passion, and the idea is investing in stories. And I think it's a tremendous idea and mission statement, and I think we're all excited to be part of it. So thank you very much for joining us at Do Respite. There's plenty more to come. Please hang out. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Certainly follow us, so as more great content comes out, you'll be able to hang out and see it happen. All the best. Take care of yourselves. Have fun with whatever games you're playing, and stay safe. It's a scary world out there. Bye-bye.